Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Pauline Lake. I am the Curriculum and PD Coordinator for the National Center for Computer Science Education, which is the home of CS Awesome and Mobile CSP. I see lots of familiar faces tonight, and I see we may have some others joining in here as well. And we're super excited for our second webinar of August to have representatives from Coding Rooms with us tonight for a live info session and demo. So they have lots of great features in Coding Rooms to show you all. And so we would just ask now, you get your questions ready and you're ready for those, but also ready to follow along with the awesome demo that they have planned for tonight. So we would love to have you introduce yourselves. Typically I do a poll. I don't know if yeah, I did not do one tonight. So I think if you would like to introduce yourself, we would love to have you do that. Feel free in the chat to tell us where you're from and how you might be using Coding Rooms. I know most of you may be with CS Awesome, so that would be for your CSA class. But if you have other thoughts of how you might be using it, we'd love to hear that too. So feel free to drop into the chat who you are, where you're from, and how you plan to use Coding Rooms or how you're thinking about using Coding Rooms. Perfect. We got more people coming in. I see we have some folks. We got New Jersey, Illinois, West Virginia, Wisconsin, see if I missed anybody, California, Delaware, and more are joining us as you are all sharing where you're from. This is great. If you're just joining us, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat and tell us where you're from and what you're thinking or how you're thinking about using Coding Rooms. All right. So again, thank you for being here tonight and for introducing yourselves in the chat. And I just have a couple reminders for everyone. Again, if you're just joining us, we are recording this session. You can feel free to turn off your video if you would like to not be included in the recording. Also, live transcript is turned on, so if you would like closed captioning at the bottom of your screen, you should be able to turn that on. And there is the raise hand feature. We are expecting that there'll be lots of questions tonight, and we do have some time at the end for Q&A. But if you do have a question sort of that's immediate, you can raise your hand and we can help monitor questions that come up as the demo is happening. Right? So looking forward to a great session tonight. We are going to have the information session and demo, and then we're going to follow it up with some Q&A time. So we're planning pretty close to 90 minutes here, but it is recorded. So if you can't stay for the entire session, we will share the recording out with you at the end. All right, so I am now going to turn it over to our wonderful representatives from Coding Rooms. We are joined tonight by Joe and Sasha, who will be giving you more information about Coding Rooms. I'm not sure who's starting us off, but I'm going to stop screen sharing. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and get us started.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joe Mazzone, and I am a computer science teacher at Davies Career and Technical High School in Lincoln, Rhode Island. I've been a Coding Rooms user now for a while, and it's a product that I'm really excited about. And I've been lucky enough to work with the Coding Rooms team to do different professional development and just really great things, provide them with feedback to improve the product, and a lot of great stuff. So today I'm gonna kind of, as a teacher that uses CS Awesome and teaches computer science at the high school level, which I'm sure that's where most of you are. It certainly seemed that way. I'm gonna walk us through how to use Coding Rooms. But we do have here with us also, who's gonna, I'm sure, do an excellent job answering questions in the chat as I'm demoing, and we'll speak at different times, including just now is Sasha, who is the co-founder and CEO of Coding Rooms, and just an awesome person creating this awesome product.
Thank you for the intro, Joe, and Pauline for inviting us. Before I get started talking at all about Coding Rooms, I just want to say being part of the CS Awesome community has been really awesome, for lack of a better word. I don't think I know of a single other free or paid curriculum system and community that is as robust and sort of deep in terms of all the support that's offered as CS Awesome is. So really excited about that, and also providing more support for the sort of CS Awesome ecosystem as part of my work at Coding Rooms. So more formally, I'm one of the co-founders of Coding Rooms. I am an engineer, and I got coding in high school, and I took APCSA in, I think it was 2015. And actually that's where the whole idea for Coding Rooms came about. Kind of as a student and then teaching workshops, I was really frustrated that teaching CS kind of always felt like screaming into the void. I would, do an example, and students would either pick it up or not, and then you don't really have like good feedback on how the class is going unless you kind of walk around and then probe people or take keyboards, and then it just felt like a really disconnected experience. And so we built Coding Rooms to solve that problem and provide teachers a interactive dashboard where you can see all your students code in real time. Since then, and those of you who've been with Coding Rooms for a while now have kind of seen the ecosystem of Coding Rooms evolve into supporting like assignments and a really robust online IDE. But that's really where we started, and sort of our mission has always been for the classroom and giving tools for teachers. And we recently did also launch a pretty extensive free tier. And so a lot of the things that we'll talk about today are covered in the free tier of Coding Rooms. And sort of from more forward-looking perspective, I'm really excited to say that we're currently working on a new integration of the CS Awesome curriculum in Coding Rooms, and we'll actually be starting to open up invitation-only beta access for that in September. So you'll actually have tighter integration of the CS Awesome curriculum directly within Coding Rooms. And if you're interested in that, please drop us an email at hello@codingrooms.com, or maybe I can just add everyone in the session to the beta list, actually. So, Pauline, are we going to have emails after the session? Okay, so then actually I'll just kind of opt in everyone to that list if you like, and if not, please just let us know. And so we're really excited about that. But without further ado, I'll kind of pass it over to Joe and help us walk through teacher experience using Coding Rooms.
Excellent, thank you, Sasha. And as I'm setting up and sharing my screen, I will just say Coding Rooms has some really cool things coming soon. Sasha's had me, do some user testing on some things they have for ideas, and they have some really great stuff that you're going to enjoy. So beyond everything you're going to see today, there are some cool things on the horizon. I'm just opening up the chat so I can kind of monitor that still. I like to keep an eye on that, as well as the participants list. Let's just open those up quick. Okay, so here I am at app.codingrooms.com. So everyone, if you'd like, really the best way to get the full experience today is to log in there. You can do single sign-on with Google if your school has that, or even Microsoft account or GitHub account, and a couple options there. Or you can just create an account as you normally would for any other site. And again, to get the full experience and for you to be able to play around with things today, you probably want to have a login. Also, for your students to get the full experience from their own courses, you want to do the same thing. I have my students do the single sign-on with Google, and that works really well. However, one of the things I'm going to show off, a couple of the things I'm going to show off today, students can actually use. Let's say your school is really shy to using, having the students have accounts on different things. There are different ways you can use Coding Room's live classroom, which I'll show off. And they're just workspaces just to code for free without any logins. So you can have students use them without logins also. Tough thing about that, it doesn't save work now per account. So they have to download their work, and there's some other things. So for full experience, you want them to be able to log in. What I'm going to discuss to start off is that Coding Rooms is really broken into three main sections. Because what's great about Coding Rooms is not just an online ID that students can access anywhere. They can access it on their phone, tablet, Chromebook, of course, which I'm sure a number of you are here because your students only have Chromebooks. My students only have Chromebooks. I completely eliminated the use of the computers in my computer lab. Students are just using Chromebooks now, which is helpful because like my school's doing all online for snow days now and things like that. So I just want the students to be comfortable on their Chromebooks and be able to have the full coding experience. But there are essentially three sections. So up top here, when you look at the Coding Rooms dashboard, you have courses, live classrooms, and workspaces. And that's what I'm going to go over. I want you to be familiar with what those three sections are and when you would use each of them. First and foremost, we're going to jump into workspaces. So if you are logged in, you can go ahead and click that. And what a workspace is it's probably what you most expect Coding Rooms to have. It's just an online developing area for a student to create a project. So when they create a new workspace, it's just creating a new project. So I'm in the workspaces area. I'm just going to click on new workspace, and it's just going to create a new project or workspace area for students to work. So if you ever wanted to just test something out, do something independently, your students want to work on a project independently, this is really where they'd go. They can create their own workspace. They can name it whatever they want. Awesome. And they can select their language that they'd like. So, or workspace type. So you can scroll through and sort of check this out. You want to look at all the different language options. And if ever you teach another class that requires another language, just let Sasha know at hello@codingrooms.com and they can start working on that. So as you can see, a number of options: HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Maybe if you do a web development course. Of course, we're going to look at Java today, Python. A lot of Java teachers or teachers that teach Java love processing also in the Java style. So syntax in Java, they have that available right online. It works beautifully, and I'm going to actually be doing a presentation on that in a couple weeks at Creative Coding Fest. They also have processing.py if you'd like it in the Python style, as well as you can do p5.js, which is the JavaScript style. So if you know processing, you may know some of those things that I talked about. Yes, you could. HTML, CSS projects, you could use that in your Exploring Computer Science course. I do that in my intro course too, a little web development. It works awesome also. So you can see all these different options in here for the different languages. I'm going to select Java for this, of course. We do have some different flavors, so I know, different teachers have different things. Some just want to use Java 8. That's all the AP exam requires. They want to use that. We have that available. Some want to use some other features that had come out later with Java. You can select Java 14 if you'd like. So we do have some different versions of Java if that's something you specifically care about. And once you create a workspace, it looks probably fairly similar if you've used IDEs before. We have some files area on the left. You can create new files. You can upload files. You can download all the files. You can create folders. Okay, you can do all those things. You can throw files in folders. You can do all that stuff you'd kind of expect to be able to do to organize the files that are part of this workspace. And what I love is when you click the run button, it does what you would expect. Click run, it runs the code, which of course, if you're following along and you created a Java workspace, it just has a nice hello world program to start off with as a template. Click run, it runs it. What I want to show off right away too, so this is just the IDE online from an iPad, a Chromebook, anything, their phone. Students could open up a workspace and start coding in Java right on any device that has the internet using coding rooms. If they don't, if you want students to be able to do this without a coding rooms account, they can even do that. If you go on Coding Room's website, you can access each of their languages without an account also to start coding. Sasha can drop the link for that. If you are really interested, just let us know. What I really like with it, I'm going to show off again, when you click run, you can type out some Java code if you are following along. When you click run, it's going to run the code as you would expect. But the other thing I like is notice I have this another Java file in a folder here. And a lot of these online IDEs, especially, but even some of the desktop ones, it's kind of a pain to set up for the environment to be able to run that file in the folder or do some different things. Over here with Coding Rooms, any file that I have in here, so I have a Java one, any Java file I have in here, run just with the click of the run button really easily. So if I change this class to another, I can click this little drop down and any runnable file, that's part of this workspace will just run with this little drop down here. I think Eclipse is fairly similar to this design. That's one of the good things about Eclipse. Like you can just select any of the files that you'd expect to be able to use the Java virtual machine to just run. So I can select this another .java. I should have changed the words. Notice it ran without an issue, but this is another file. Okay, and so I can select another .java. It says this is another file. I can select main, and it's going to do the hello world program. So really simple for students to run code, no complex setups, which is awesome. The run button, when you just click it itself, it will always run the main file, which you can configure in the little gear by changing the default file from main to something else. So you can change the default file, or students can change the default file if they want. They can also change the coding language on the fly by just going into that little settings gear and changing some of the options. So I would hope that this looks and feels fairly familiar to you, which is awesome. One of the things that is available is graphics are fully supported in Coding Rooms on, I would say most of the languages, certainly Python and Java, and that's why we have processing and those things. And that's because this code is just running on a Linux machine. It happens to be a remote Linux machine, which is the reason why the students' Chromebooks can just open it up and start coding. You can view the desktop of that Linux machine. So when you click the View Desktop button, you can actually see the desktop that this code is running on, which allows you to open up graphics windows. For instance, I'm going to grab some Java FX code, just a little GUI. So I just grabbed some Java FX code just to open up a little graphic user interface. If I run that file, you'll notice the little graphic user interface opened up on here. And I made it so this button just says hello world, prints hello world. So notice I can see the console and I can see the GUI side by side. You can even open the desktop in a new tab if you want it nice and large, for depending if students are making a game, for instance, they want to interact with it in full screen, they can do that also. So full desktop environment, just like if you were coding on a Linux machine in your computer lab, coding rooms will work the same. Again, this is a Linux machine, so if you teach maybe some command line stuff, you teach bash, something like that, you can use all those commands, see everything. Notice I can see the class file now that I listed all the files in this directory. So you can do all of that stuff right inside of here, right inside the coding rooms workspace. Any questions on just the coding rooms? We're going to dig deeper into the IDE in a minute. We're going to use the live classroom feature, which will allow us to interact with our code a little more in the way that you'll probably want to use coding rooms and teach. I just wanted to show that it is a fully functioning, really powerful developing environment. You can share these similar to a Google Doc also, and students can collaborate on them. So there's a share button you may have noticed at the top. And students can invite other students if they create a workspace. You can create a workspace and invite students. There are viewer and editor roles, so they can just view the code or they can edit it. So very powerful, very similar to a Google Doc, yet is a developing environment. All right, since I'm not seeing any questions and just throw them in, I'm going to create a Coding Rooms live classroom now. This is by far the selling feature and the most powerful thing I think you have as a tool in a coding environment, especially in the browser. And especially if you have to do any remote learning, this is incredibly powerful. I love it also in the in-person classroom. So any synchronous teaching, this is it. This is awesome for synchronous teaching. So I went to live classroom, and you can create a live classroom. You don't have to do this. I'm going to have you be a student in a live classroom. So just follow along with me here just to see how a live classroom is created. So someone asked, do students need to invite others to see their code? Yes, they would have to invite them to see their code. Students can't just search for their code. Nothing on coding rooms is fully public. I would say, Sasha would say this, that everything in coding rooms is locked down, where you can open it up if you'd like to. So I'm going to create a new live classroom. And you may be wondering, what the heck is a live classroom if you have known nothing about coding rooms? Well, I'm going to show you, and it's really cool. I would say if you want to teach a lesson and you want students to see your code and you want to see students' code, you're going to want to create a live classroom. Every single live demo or lesson that I go through with students, I have a live classroom for that. And it allows them to keep their notes and their code, as well as me to be able to see their code in real time in such an effective and efficient way. So I'm just going to give it a name. I tend to name them like in CS Awesome, you have your 1.2 is this particular thing, or maybe you just want to have Unit 1 be one live classroom. So any of these lessons you go over live with students, show them skills, you kind of create that live classroom for. I'm just going to call the CS Awesome, just as a note for myself. Demo. You select, of course, the language you want to use for this particular live classroom. You can select a particular course you have set up on coding rooms for this live classroom. I'm going to select none because none of you are in a course of mine. If you select a course, it makes it so only students enrolled in that course can join this live classroom, which prevents people from kind of spamming your live classroom and things like that. So that's increased security. You can select the start time if you want it to show up properly of when this meeting is supposed to take place. Not really a big deal. There's video conferencing. We're using Zoom, so I'm not going to enable that, but they actually have video conferencing like Zoom built into the Coding Rooms live classroom. So if you're remote with students, you can enable that, and you don't need to have Zoom or Google Meets or anything like that. And Coding Rooms, you can just use Coding Rooms link, and you'll have the video conferencing to see your students and talk to them, as well as the coding environment, which is really cool. You're going to want to check out this one, Streamline Presentation. If you turn this on, the students are going to see your code. They can't edit your code if you turn this on. I'm going to turn it off and allow us all to kind of edit my coding area that I'll talk about in a little bit. And so you can either have this kind of collaboration space, or you can have this kind of observer space. I'll explain more when we see that. I'm going to create the live classroom. How you access the live classroom? This is a great question for Sasha. Sasha, if you're there, Streamline in free mode? I'm not sure. You can start up the live classroom, and how students kind of join is they simply just use this URL. You can post this to Google Classroom, on Canvas, whatever your learning management system is. You give students this URL, and that's how they access and just log in and open up the live classroom. I'm going to edit the template that we're going to use because I'm going to add something cool. You can edit the template and kind of upload files. For instance, I'm going to upload the Turtle library to allow us to use Turtle. So I have a jar. I'm going to upload that, and I'll show you using jars, and these other libraries are really easy. So we have that set up. I'm going to click Save Changes. So you can edit their Java file. You can give them whatever you want as a template to start off. And then when you click, I'm going to copy this link. I'm going to paste it in the chat. If everybody goes and clicks on this live classroom link, it's going to open up on your screen. Yes, they will. So Barbara asked a question about if they're invited in the class, will they see the live classroom listed? When they click live classroom, they will. They'll say, and if you select the appropriate date and time, that's when it will be really important. They'll say live classroom coming soon, and they'll see that specific one with the topic. So then you don't have to give them the link. They can just go to Coding Rooms and access the live classroom as part of their class. What you're going to see when you click on the link, it's going to say waiting for live classroom to start. I wanted everyone to see that it doesn't start up until I click start. So the students can click on the link, you can click on the link, but it's not going to start until I start it up. I'm going to do that now, start and join, and then you all will be kind of brought into the live classroom. Now, what I want you to see first, the very first thing that's great about the live classroom is I have this student activity kind of monitor, this activity monitor where I can see everything going on with students. If I click that right now, I can see everyone that's joined the live classroom. I can see when they joined or when they're active, actually typing. I can see a lot of information about them, and we're going to come back to this in a minute to check out more information. Oh, someone threw some code in there for me. Thank you. We were going to do that. Someone removed it. So you may notice that this area we have open right now, there are tabs at the top, is called the presentation. The presentation is a space that everyone can see. I turned off streamlined presentation, which means everyone can also type there. Okay. If I turned on streamlined presentation, only the teacher can type there, which is typically what I have, other than if I want to do a similar kind of activity that we're going to do together in a minute. I usually have that turned on so the students can't type, and they only use that as essentially the whiteboard to kind of see what I want them to see. So I type out some code. I say, all right, now try this in your area. Their area is known as My Workspace. So you'll notice a tab at the top, if this ever goes away on it for me. It says My Workspace. Click on that My Workspace tab, and you'll notice there's 2 instances of the IDE now that you can use. The one on the right-hand side is your workspace. It's private to you. No other student can see that workspace. The one on the left is the presentation. The presentation everyone can see. You can make it so that only teachers can type there, or you can make it so everyone can type there, which everyone can. So if you go over there, you can see that everyone can type here. Yeah. And you can see everyone's cursor too. So I just saw Anne just started typing there. Everyone can type there like a live Google Doc, which, as I'm sure you're starting to imagine as teachers, you're like, this could get hectic. And that's why you can actually make it so they can't type there. As Sasha said, that is part of the subscription, the premium subscription though. So if you're using it for free, it's all on. And to be honest with you, students actually behave fairly well here. Someone's lost and can't get out. So the presentation at the top, if you click that, it turns the presentation area off. If you click it again, it turns it on. Same thing with My Workspace. My Workspace is where you can type things privately and use and run code. This workspace is identical to what we looked at just creating a workspace. It's identical. It will run the code just like we saw in my little example, which is great. Let's create a little Hello World program together. All right. So I want to create a little Hello World program. Can someone for me, I'm going to delete everyone's kind of comments here. Can someone for me on line 4 of our code, line 4, give me the first line of code that we need to use for Java? We need to create our class, our header for our class. Can someone add that for me on line 4? And this is in the presentation area. Thank you, John. So John's typing public class main. Excellent. And he added the curly brackets. Yes, of course. And we all know because we teach APA at some level, using CS Awesome or not. And we know we need the curly brackets for that code. Awesome. Can someone now create the main method, public static void main method for us, so that we can add the hello world thing? So someone other than John, can we add that? And I can help you out if you need. Thank you, Anne. Don't forget, we want that inside those curly brackets though. So just go up to line 5. Perfect, Anne. And while Anne's typing that, can someone re-add the curly bracket for me on line 6? So we don't get any errors in our code. Thank you, A. Phillips. Perfect. So looks like Anne started. Can someone finish that? Public static void. Perfect. Anne's actually finishing. Main. And we can add those parentheses and do a string array, args. And hopefully what everyone's seeing is that we can all see this live. We can see who's typing. We can use everything. I can go in, I can add. All right, and now someone on line 7, someone else on line 7, can you add a print statement that says hello world? We'll want that in the curly brackets. So click on line 7. Go ahead. Who is over there? I'll help the class out. System.out.print. I didn't specify print line or just regular print, so that's fine. Hello world. Don't forget the semicolon. We can run the code. And what I want you to notice is that when I run the code, you all can see that I ran the code. You can see the output in the console. You can see all of that. If we did something graphical, you can run the code also because we don't have it streamlined. So you can interact in all those ways with this area. Then, of course, what I can do, so using that, can everybody go over to their workspace where it says My Workspace? So if you don't have that open, click My Workspace, open that up. And can you replicate this? But instead of printing Hello World, I want you to print your name. All right, so yes, you're going to need public class main, public static void main. You'll need all that. Some people will copy and paste. You can see, and students will do that also. My classroom, that's fine. I don't care that much. That all depends on you. Copy, and you can have them paste that, or you can retype that over into your workspace. And I want you to type your name. So instead of printing Hello World, type your name. And I want you to run your code also and make sure it actually shows your name in the console. Now, as you all are doing that, I don't want to, give you whiplash going back and forth between what I'm showing on Zoom and your tab kind of typing out this code, but there's some really great things that I could show off about the activity monitor right now. As you are all working on this in your own private workspace, me, the teacher, you guys can't see each other's code, but me, the teacher, I get some important information over here. I can scroll down, I can see, okay, John ran his code twice. Daryl hasn't run their code yet. Lewis ran their code, but has one error. Just ran their code again, no error, no additional error. So probably is doing all right. Gloria has an error. And let's say I want to check out. I go, looks like Gloria is getting a lot of errors. I want to open up Gloria's workspace and check out what's going on. I can simply click this button next to the student's name, and I can open up their code. Oh, looks like Gloria did a great job updating their code, fixing the errors. Everything looks good. I can run their code now if I want. I run Gloria's code. Yep, everything's working great. You know what? I want to leave Gloria a comment. I can go in there. Of course, I can use the programming languages comment structure. But I can also use Coding Rooms does have a, if you highlight a line of code, you can right click and you can add a comment to students' code. And of course, sometimes you want to do better comments than that, especially if they made a mistake. And they can hover over that and they can see your comment with a date stamp and a time stamp. I can scroll through. I see Anne also has an error. I can go over there, give it a run, looking good. Anne was able to fix their code also. Everything's looking great. Now, while the students were working, while all of you were working, there was something else I could use. And this is everyone's favorite feature. So the activity monitor is great. It's so useful even in person teaching and learning. If the student deletes the line, it won't be. They'll need to right click and delete the comment for the highlight, I believe. Give it a try yourself. You can leave yourself a right click comment and try to delete it. The other thing is this student workspaces. You'll notice that I have this extra tab, student workspaces, and you guys don't have that tab. That's just for the teacher. And what it allows me to do is if you give students a task and you want to just kind of observe them, what do we typically in a regular computer lab, what do we do? All right, I want everyone to print out their name and display in the console as like, first week activity. You walk around and you check out everyone's code, making sure no one's having issues. Well, even faster and more efficient, you can click on student workspaces And this was a savior during remote learning. And you can just scroll through and you can check out everyone's code in real time. You can view up to 18 workspaces at a time, and you can just see them. Can everyone for me click in their workspace and just type something, add a comment, change your line? So I just saw Teresa over here is moving around. See, in real time, I can see this. I can see them running the code. I can see them typing in real time. As I'm scrolling through all you that are helping me out and actually doing stuff, you can see it over on, if you have multiple monitors or something like that. Testing, excellent. I can see that. Can someone click run? I can see you run your code in real time. I can see all that. I can go over and I can interact with your code. So I can look over, I see John's code. Oh, John's code looks great. I can click run. I can run John's code in this view of a grid of all of these different workspaces. I can still add comments. The right click comments. I can do all of those things. And if someone wants me to demo, see, if you right click, you can delete the comment. You should be able to delete the comment. There it comes, delete comment. I think John actually deleted it before I got to, but I think you got to click on the line first so that it knows your cursor's there. Uses keyboard. Yes, I did. Okay, thank you, John. See, John is typing to me in real time. Awesome stuff. So I did. So Teresa's asking, hey, you said you can see 18 at a time. It just does, because this actually is pretty intensive for your memory. You know, on a Chrome tab or, you know, internet browser tab. So that's just so it doesn't kind of get overloaded. So it's just pagination. So if you have more than 18, you just have to click the next page. So there's 18 at a time you can see. That's all, but you just click the next page and you'd see that. Now, there are a couple other things I want to show off. I said graphics work before. I'm going to go back over to the presentation now. And I can do, you know, everyone knows probably if you've done CS Awesome, Unit 2, we're working with, we do have a companion tab, and actually I do that also. Let me show that off first. There are a couple of things up in the top right of the workspace, the student workspace area. First one is a full width workspace. If you click on that full width workspace, they're no longer, you know, squares, and they're more rectangular, so you can see more. This is great for later on when they're not doing simple things and there's more to check out. As well as the companion tab, which is actually what I do because I have multiple monitors on my teacher workstation, which allows me to see the presentation on one area and have the student's workspace open in another area. So notice I opened up this companion tab, and it just is just the workspaces here. So I can open up multiple, if your computer can handle it, I can open up multiple tabs and companion tabs for all the different pages of student workspaces I need to see. So you're not limited to kind of do that and have all this stuff open in some other tabs also. Now, what I'm going to show off is I'm going to go over to the presentation. And what you may have noticed, Shannon, I think you might be leaning on your keyboard. Sharon, I think you might be leaning on your keyboard. Is I did include this Turtle library. So Unit 2 in CS Awesome, we use Turtle, which some of you may be familiar with in Python. Control the little turtle to kind of move around. Sharon, if you are there, I think you might be leaning on the J key on your keyboard. If you just even click away, if you're can't figure out what's going on, that'd be helpful. So if you want to use jars at all you need to do is add them, and they will be available for you to use on any of the Java files you run. Coding Rooms automatically has that set up. So I can go over, I'm actually going to go over to my private workspace because Sharon is stuck on that J key there. So I'm going to go over to my workspace. Each of you can do this on your own workspace. You could have been able to copy and paste my code, but the Java, the Turtle stuff is pretty easy. And I can go and I can create a nice Turtle file over in main. And I think this is an example right from the CS Awesome curriculum where they name the object Yertle the turtle. and I can view the desktop. I can click run, and I'll get my little turtle drawing to come right up, and it works really well. So in the using objects unit, if you want to be able to do those things, as well as some other people, someone sent me some other cool things with GUIs and graphics. Some people like to do the drawings instead, and you're drawing rectangles and stuff for creating or using objects. All that works really well. So you can check that out. I'm going to copy this, and let's go over to I'm going to go back to the presentation. Oh, looks like I can put that code there for the turtle if you want. What's cool too is if I run that, and everyone can view that on my desktop. If you open up the presentations desktop, you can check out the turtle code window that opened up, and you can even interact with it and move it around and all that stuff, which is really cool. So you see someone's dragging it now. That was someone else. Which is, you know what it's really cool for? Interactive games. If your students or you create the games, you can do that. Barbara, what was happening was someone was stuck on their J key, so I couldn't type into the presentation area. Now you should be able to see the turtle file. I put it in my private workspace just for you to see. But now everyone should be able to see it there. And if you bring that and paste that into your main on your student workspace, you should be able to just click run and it will work, because I included that jar file on all of your workspaces as part of the template. So, and that's all you need to do to preload code or jars or anything like that, is you just throw it right on the workspace and as part of the template, and it will show right up. Great question, John. John wants to know how to do full screen desktop. The view desktop button, if you hover your mouse over it, it gives you the URL to actually look at the desktop, as well as you can just click on this little symbol with an arrow pointing out of a box, and that will open up a new tab so you can see that in full screen. A lot of students like to do that. I usually just show them in the little preview, but most students actually like to view it in a full desktop, even if they're just doing a little turtle drawing like this. I hope you also observe, and this was a big thing for me because I like to, in my Python curriculum, as well as the Java curriculum, do some different things with graphics and cool stuff, just to break up, use just printing stuff up in the console. And what I loved about Coding Rooms is just how well everything performs. Even on the free version, what you're seeing, it's going to perform that smooth and slick, which is really great. Yeah, so I'm going to show off one more time. Now that we've seen the live classroom, let me just go through creating a live classroom again and adding the template files. Okay. I'm going to come back to this live classroom in a minute because there are a couple more things I want to show off. But we'll do that. So if I go back to app.codingrooms.com, I'm going to go to live classrooms. I'm going to create a new live classroom. I hope that wasn't too fast. That was just going to live classrooms and creating a new live classroom. You want to set up the name of your topic, the programming language you're using, all that stuff. If you turn on the Streamline code presentation, as I'd mentioned, that would make it so they cannot edit that presentation area. So I just turned that on, which means this live classroom, if I was to fully create it, which I'm not, they wouldn't be able to edit that. I'm going to click Create Live Classroom. And once you create the live classroom, you can edit the template. As long as you haven't started the live classroom, you can edit the template. And when you edit the template, you get a little version of the IDE in which you can add new other files. Notice that you started off with a main.java that was completely empty. Of course, if you want to add that, you can do that. So, I can come in here and I can, type public class main. And I can say public static void main. I can do all that stuff. I can set it up if you're people that like the curly brackets on a new line, you're people that like curly brackets on the same line as the header. You can set it up exactly as you like it for your class. And then of course, people are asking, well, how did you add the jar file to that template? All I did was go to upload. I happen to have it preset up to where I have the turtle library already there. I upload it. It works. Maybe I want to give them this turtle code to start off with. I can do that. There's the library. I can even view the desktop, make sure everything works. Run the code. All right, good. Everything's working with the template I want to give students. Click Save Changes, and now the students, once they join this live classroom, that's what they will get as a default template. Everything you saw me set up. So it's this edit template right here to set up all the files that you want students to have access to. We don't have the ability to upload files from your Google Drive. Sasha, I don't know if you want to chime in there, if it's something that you've thought about. I never even thought about that. However, if you have Google Drive Sync installed, you know, you could select that from your computer on Mac or Windows. John just asked, can students download the jar file? They can. However, Sasha, I do notice that directly downloading the jar file is not an option. For instance, if I go in the Java file, I can just download that one Java file, but the jar is not able to download. However, if you just click this download button, it will download the entire project in a zip folder, and it will include the jar.
Yeah, that's correct. Just chiming in here from the engineering side of things. If you need to grab one of those binary files individually, the best way is to zip the whole project and download it.
Perfect. Thank you, Sasha. So you can upload everything there. And what I really liked is there's no complex setup for jars. If you just add them into the main directory of the workspace, it will just automatically add it to the class path and be able to have students use that jar. So any other jars may be used for like drawing things and anything like that. If you are someone that's been teaching Java for a while, you should be able to just upload them, and students should be able to use any of the classes that are in that jar without any issue. I'm going to leave that open just in case I need to go back to that. All right, there are a couple other things I want to show off. One that is really, really cool. I'm going to go to somebody that probably was typing a good amount. I think John had a lot of stuff. Gloria has some stuff in here, so I'll go there. One of the things that a lot of coding room teachers really love, I always tease it as the anti-cheating device or tool, and there is a playback history. Sasha, if you could, just because I know people are going to ask for the with this playback thing, what is the difference between the free tier and the paid tier for it before I show it off?
Yeah, sure thing. I think the free tier has a limited number of frames that you can play back.
That's what I thought. So I'll kind of explain what that means in a minute. So on every workspace, including the presentation, you can click this little playback button, including you as the student should be able to click it. And it shows a history in time with a date stamp and a time stamp of everything that was typed, character for character. So I can see Gloria added Yurtle forward right there. I can go back all the way to where there was nothing in this file. I can come in here, and what a good student Gloria was, and didn't copy and paste my setup. Oh, for the most part. Added the class header on their own, but notice all of a sudden I do one click and boom, code appears. That's a copy and paste, obviously, right? So this is why I call the anti-cheating thing, because you can catch when students just copy and paste some code. So if you're like, where did they get this from? And then all of a sudden you go back in the playback history and you see they copied and pasted from somewhere. You know they just grabbed it from somewhere else. They didn't come up with that solution on their own. So this allows us to see that. And then Gloria edited, and it would be fine for this, obviously. I wouldn't care. The student did that. and it lets us see the thought process. So Gloria, I hope you don't care that I'm exposing your thought process here live with everyone. But you can see like kind of what the student was working on, what they were doing. So I like this when I'm like looking at some code, I go, what was the student doing? Like, how did they think through this? You can kind of see and go step by step and go through that process, as well as I like it because I can see the copy and paste dumps also. You can also see when students create files. So if I go out of here, I'm just going to create another Java file, Java. And when we go into the playback history, you can see it's there. And then if I go back one step, because I just created that file, it's gone. So you can even see in the playback history when files are created and deleted. Sometimes some students will upload a file to copy and paste from and do some other things like that. You can see that in the playback history. So you can see they upload a file at this point, then deleted it at this other timestamp. You can see all those things. So anything that happens in this workspace, you can view with the playback history, which is really, really cool. Couple things I'm going to go back over here to the activity monitor, just to show off all the things in the activity monitor here. We do have how many times they ran the code, how many errors they've received, and when they were last active. Last active was really useful when we were doing remote learning, because I would call students out and be like, hey, you haven't typed anything in 15 minutes. You guys are just watching this demo, so I'm not going to call you out if it was 15 minutes ago, but you haven't typed anything in 15 minutes. Are you following along with what I'm doing? I go to their code, find out they weren't following along. They weren't doing anything, but it was a great hint for me. The other thing is you may notice that there is on your left bar, a little hand. You can raise your hand. So if you go ahead, a couple people can do that now for me. If you're following along, you still have this open. I notice their hand and they come to the top of the list. So then this is a great way for students to indicate if they need some help. And then, of course, students can lower their hand once they've received their help. Again, quick way that you can get to a student is if you see their name in the activity monitor, you can just click on their name and it comes up. Their code comes right up. So Rasha here needs some help. I click on it, raised hand, come over, run the code, and notice how quick I can just jump into students' code, check out what's going on, view their desktop. I can do all those things really, really quickly. And that's what made me fall in love with coding rooms. Go over and say, everything looks good. The hand is over on the left bar where I can see the student activity monitor. You can't see that. Instead, you just have chat and raise hand as a student. Teachers have this additional student area. If you want students to have access to other students' stuff, invite them as a teacher. So when I went over into created a live classroom, there's an admin link, and you can give certain students an admin link if you want them to be a teaching assistant or something like that, where they can jump onto other students' workspaces and help them out also. So you can give them an admin link and they can interact as a teacher instead of a student. All of you are interacting as a student right now. All right, any questions before? I'm just going to showcase quickly courses and what's specific in a course. This recording will be available after. You're very welcome. Any other questions before I showcase what the heck the courses thing is? Remember I said there are workspaces, which is just coding area, where you can just create a coding project and do stuff. Live Classroom, which is this interactive thing that I've been showcasing for a little while now, where I can see the students' code, jump onto their code, help them out. Students can see my presentation area, grab code from there, watch and demo. And then I'm going to showcase what courses are. What's special about courses. All right, I'm just going to jump into that. So one of the things, the last thing I'm going to explain about the live classroom is when you click on the exit button on the live classroom, there are two options, leave and finish. If you don't want students to be able to access the live classroom when you're done, you click finish. And all of you have this open right now, and I'm going to click finish, and it's going to kick you out. If you want them to have access again, all you have to do is restart the live classroom after you click finish. All of you should have access again. You may need a refresh. I'm not sure exactly. We should all have access again. So I clicked finish, it kicked you out, and now you regained access to the live classroom. Now, what I typically do is I click on leave. Why do I click leave? Because when you click leave, it leaves the live classroom open for students to be able to access it as notes. And that's essentially what I do, is I leave it open and let them access the demo we did and the work we did together as kind of their notes. I have the practice of having students use the commenting system as part of the programming language. So 2 slashes here in Java to leave themselves notes as we go through a lesson. I want them to be able to access that after. So I leave it open. So notice now I personally left the live classroom. This closing out of the tab is the same thing as leaving the live classroom. And it stays open for students to be able to access and interact with and use while I'm gone. Now, the third area, again, we looked at workspaces, we looked at live classroom. If I click, they can download, they can do anything they could do normally if I just click leave. If I click finish, they can't get in there anymore. Now, the courses area, what the courses area is, it allows you to create a course with assignments. And the assignments can be auto-graded. And also, the other thing with a course is, again, you can create live classrooms that are only for that specific course. When you go to create a course, Coding Rooms is working on a bunch of templates, including a Python class that I'm part of the development team on. There's also going to be a Java class. Right now, if you logged in, there is an AP CSA exercises and an Intro to Python exercises, a bunch of pre-created assignments, essentially, for you to use. Someone asked if CS Awesome is going to be a class. My assumption is, and Sasha, you correct me if I'm wrong, yes, that will be, once they release the fuller integration, one of the options as a template will be CS Awesome. Correct, Sasha?
Yes, that's correct. There'll be a little more stuff involved there for CS Awesome, because the integration is going to be a lot closer, but yes, essentially.
Yeah, the integration is not going to be exactly what you're seeing here for templates. It's a special bit that allows the open open textbook to be embedded into Coding Rooms. Yeah, so if you close the live classroom, you can find it later. If I go to live classroom, so before I jump into courses again, let me just answer this question. If I go into live classroom, notice upcoming ones. These are ones that are not past the date, of today, and they show up right here. If I go to previous, you're going to see a giant list of previous live classrooms that I've done. They all stay there until you don't want them anymore and you delete them. With the free version, you can access these courses, these course templates. Sasha can speak more about what their roadmap looks like for courses that will be available to free users versus paid users, but I know that these two are available for free users.
Yep, that's correct. There's some extra stuff included for free trials and the premium subscriptions, but everything that you're seeing right now is free.
So, for instance, let me just go with use this template for the AP CSA exercises. You can change the name. So let's say you want to start off with that. You're like, I don't want to start off with an empty class. Let me start off with these exercises and I may want to use them. You can name the class appropriately how you want to, give it a headline, all that stuff. You can leave all the assignments unpublished, or you can publish them all. I say keep them unpublished and release them as you want. Other than if you want students to just log in here and kind of just free reign, they can use these exercises as they wish. You might use coding rooms that way. That's fine. I'm going to create the course. Now I'm going to get these 100+ assignments with auto grading set up for free. So I recommend everybody here create a class just with those, just to start off. It's better than starting off with a blank plate. And you got a bunch of stuff, of course, just creating variables and printing at first, and then other things later. And you can create your own assignments. You can create, you can import assignments from other classes. When you select an assignment in a class, you can copy assignments to another course. So for instance, I can say copy assignment. I can do it from my period 6 class right here. I can select any of the other classes and it will move over, which is really nice. Which is helpful. Sometimes I create an assignment and it's like something I use in multiple classes, which is great. The other thing is, though, if you teach multiple sections of the same class, you can create sections in coding rooms. So you can add as many sections as you want. And for all of the different sections, so I'll create like section 2 here. Notice I have main section and section 2 now. And all of the assignments you have populate for each of the sections. However, when you go to assign a specific assignment, so if you click on a specific assignment and you go to assign it, you can select to publish it and publish it for different sections. And each section can have its own release date, due date, and late submission date. So you can select for each section how you'd like it to be released and stuff like that, which is really, really awesome. When you go to create an assignment, you can give a prompt, which is really cool. Type a prompt explaining all the instructions. You can set up a template, add that jar file, add that starter code, whatever it is for the template. Provide yourself with a model solution. The model solution is just for you as the teacher. So if you want to give yourself a model solution, just say like, hey, this is what I want them to kind of work off of. You can add that there. And the model solution is especially good for if you create auto grading tests to test it against your model solution, just to make sure your auto grading is grading it properly. For auto grading, you can do simple input-output tests, as well as you can do unit testing. If you're interested in auto grading, check out the Coding Rooms YouTube channel. There's some webinars put on by me on how to do auto grading in Coding Rooms, as well as I have a website, autograde.joemazone.net, that helps you get, it's just for unit testing. A lot of people don't know how to do the unit testing. That can help you get started with unit testing if you're curious and want to do that. There's also a grade book, which all your students will show up in. It will show how many times they submitted, if they submitted. So notice Mr. Mazzone has not started this assignment yet. I have 0 submissions. My most recent score is this, my average score, all that stuff. What does it look like for the student? Well, you can check that out yourself. That's why it showed me in the grade book, because the teacher can open it as a student. It gives them the prompt. They click open workspace. The prompt stays on the left-hand side. The IDE stays on the right-hand side. They can run their code. Notice there's nothing, so here. They can run the tests to see if they can run the auto grading and see if their code's correct. I printed out nothing. It expects me to print out Bob and Jones. I got a score of a 0 because that test was wrong. Notice there is some autocomplete available in Coding Rooms. Run it, check my code, looks good. Run the tests again. Says 100%, got it correct this time. I can click submit and actually submit my code now to let the teacher know I'm all done. It shows you your results one more time. You, the teacher, and the student can see every time the student tests their code against the auto grader, as well as submits it. So notice I tested it one time, got a 0, tested another time, got 100, submitted my code and got 100 when I clicked the submit button. You can see all this information also in the gradebook. I forgot I opened another tab. Go to the gradebook. Mr. Mazzone submitted their code. Click on here. And I can access that student's code. It happened to be just me, but all your students would show up in a similar way to this. It only officially scores for the gradebook when they click submit. So that's why it only shows that I did 100. They can use the test runs as many times as they want. Every time they click submit, it actually goes in as a submission and it uses that as a score. You can go into the student workspaces, add comments, all that stuff. For that, did that one, Ann? I didn't even read the prompt. Create 2 string variables called first name and last name respectively. Assign a string Bob. Yeah, so they didn't do that. What I would do is if you go over my website, I have auto grading tricks for how to do that with that. It just graded the output, but I actually, the assignments I create, I check for those things also. And I do have some tricks on how to do that. And the Python course that I'm developing with Coding Rooms has excellent auto grading that checks all those type of things so that everything you ask the student to do in the prompt, I actually do auto grade it. So you could do that in the test bench. We could add a unit test, for instance. Right, and I can go down here and I can say, assert. Thank you, Daryl, for posting that in there. Equals is Java. I always have to check on these things also. Main dot. One of the course we're hoping beginning of September, and
Okay.
and Sasha will have to let you know if that's going to be on the free version or not. But anyway, I can say main dot, I think they said first name, camel case, equals whatever they said it needed to be. What the heck was it? Oh, the last name was Jones. Bob, thanks. Bob. Let's see if I did this correctly.
Okay.
There's no variable first name. So that the template's blank. I can run it if I really want to see if I did it correctly. Let's run it against this. Run tests. Correct output, no variable. I gave that 1 point by accident. I think the other one was worth 100 points. So that's why it says they got a 99. But obviously, I usually just give each auto grade test as 1 point, other than if I want to weight things certain ways. But I think that default one had 100 points in for that one. And now this one's 1 point or something like that. So that's why it says 99%. If I did 1 point and 1 point, which typically what I would do, they would only get a 50%. So you can check those things. You can do all nice auto grading stuff like that.
All right.
Any questions? I do want to let me just showcase something really quick, just to, if any of you want, like Coding Rooms is really cool, but some people are hesitant to these online IDEs because they go, I want my students to use a professional IDE. Well, One of the most popular professional IDEs is available right on Coding Rooms in the web browser, and that's Visual Studio Code. So if I go over and create a new workspace, and I select, instead of CR2, which is Coding Rooms IDE, I come over to this third option, which is IDE selection. And Coding Rooms I know is looking at having other IDEs, professional IDEs in the web browser, so they're working on that. I can select Visual Studio Code. I can create, the live classroom can use this also. Students can use this in the live classroom and assignments. You can set up your templates to be whatever IDE you want. I can select that, and it's now going to use Visual Studio Code.
Good.
And it does take a little bit longer to load, which is expected, right, with a more intense full IDE. Here's Visual Studio Code right here. I can run it. I can run the code. I think it's just loading up the JVM still. All right, run the code, and it's going to run as expected. There is actually, so I'm glad I did this, because there is a really important feature that some people want. So notice it ran the code in the terminal, as we would expect if anyone has experience with Visual Studio Code. One thing that people ask about with Coding Rooms, and I'm going to do a terrible example of showing how this works, but just to do it quick, does it persist? Yes, it does. If you log in to Coding Rooms, this is going to save as a workspace on their account. And if you select Visual Studio Code, if I want to add some breakpoints, it has Visual Studio Code's debugger. So if you're interested in having IDE with a debugger, a really good one, we can do that. I can select debug, and now it will run at each of these breakpoints. So I'm going to step through that one, prints the first hello world, step through the next one, prints the next one. If I added variables, it would show my variables over here and their values. So this is really good when you're doing loops, right? And you want to see each individual iteration and have the variables change. You can do that with the debugger. So powerful debugger, stuff like that. Rasha, I'm not sure that Coding Rooms has CMU graphics set up yet, but they can, and it will work because it works on. So they can set that up. You can also check out, if you'd like, if you just like a graphics library. I've been working on one. I don't know. I can't think of what. EasyDraw. If you'd like to check out mine, it has some inspiration from. It's with Python. I'm going to create a Java version soon. And you can add files to the template to set up things like CMU graphics and all kinds of other stuff. Pip install also works. So if you're familiar with Python, you can just do a pip install and install a library, and it just works there. Coding Rooms has the 1,000 most popular libraries pre-installed. If you'd like it to be just installed on Coding Rooms, just let them know, and they'll install your library, your Python library that you like to use, and it will just be there for whenever students create a Python workspace also. Other questions, throw them at me.
I can chime in about that one.
Yeah.
Barbara. Yeah, sure. So we've made a commitment to pretty much a lifetime free tier. And so what we've done and extended period of time, know that whenever we do upgrades, we always ensure that we keep everyone locked into the plan that they started with. Sorry, my video was off. So we keep everyone locked into the plan that you started with. You'll have access to the premium plans as well.
One of the things that I think anybody who's used coding rooms, or you talk to them, they're going to say a couple things that is worth noting here. There's excellent customer service. There's a 24/7 chat that is incredibly helpful if you're ever having issues. It's just in the bottom right corner of any of the coding rooms pages, other than when you're in. Coding rooms has evolved and has become the tool it is because I don't think Sasha would say I'm wrong with this. The community has given feedback and Sasha is open to it and wants to improve the product to make it the best product for teachers and students.
100% agree, and our roadmap is totally driven by what we hear from teachers. So really appreciate that. I can quickly cover the premium plan and a bit on pricing. So we pretty much offer everything you need to get started and run class for free. You'll notice that a lot of convenience features, administrative features, those types of things are behind a paywall. So if you're in Coding Rooms right now for free, you click on one of those features, it will actually show a little modal and it will let you know that that's a premium feature, and then you can click to start a free trial immediately. So if you're worried about like using this and not having access to something, you can always start a free trial. You don't have to talk to anyone, and that happens instantly. In terms of the pricing plans, so we offer different pricing plans and strategies. So if you have like a really small class, or you just have or you have a big class but fewer teachers, our team can help to put together a quote that makes the most sense for your situation, and you can request one of those either from our pricing page, I believe, or in app. From that modal, should be a little talk to sales button, and we're really responsive with those, and want to make sure that you have everything you need to get started. In the pipeline, we also have a lot of interesting things coming up for users on the premium plans, namely sort of curriculum setup. We do a lot of PD, especially during the school year. I think last year we had at least one a week, and we'll pretty much try to stay on at a minimum of two a month. And so those are just kind of a handful of the benefits that we offer. And as I said, especially in terms of curriculum, a lot of new things happening there. Did I answer your question? Otherwise, be happy to expand on that. And then, I don't know, Pauline, perhaps you have guidance on how to access the recording. Okay, awesome.
Or any other questions? I would think Pauline would be okay with unmuting too if you just want to ask us questions that way. Or you can use the chat, or it will work. I know Sasha and the team are really looking at, as the next phase, having good LMS integration through, what is it called, LTI?
Yes, so we are working on LTI and potentially for Canvas, like a more sort of streamlined integration. We don't have especially with the CS Awesome piece, we don't have a planned sort of release date for that yet. But if you drop us an email to hello@codingrooms.com, we will put you on the list to test that. I know just recently in the past few days, there's been developments on that. So I think that the pace is picking up in terms of when you could expect like an LTI integration with Coding Rooms.
Now,
especially for the IDE. Sorry.
I just use Microsoft Teams as essentially a learning management system at my school. And I'll tell you, in Coding Rooms, you can use the URLs. Everything is very specific to specific courses and assignments and things. So I'm just going to do a quick screen share to kind of show that off. And so you can use any learning management system. So if we're over here, right, for instance, and I want to share just a workspace I created with my students, right? I just want them to look at it. right? I want to share this. So I remember I created this little Java FX workspace. You may recall that towards the beginning. Let's say I want all you guys just want to be able to play around with that. Okay, we can do that. Why can't I open the chat? Oh, there it is. I can just copy the URL here, and this is a specific URL from my workspace. And so you might say, well, what does that grant access to? That's just a read-only access if you give someone the URL. And you can go there. I sent a direct message because someone must have direct messaged me. Here it is. And you can go there, click on it. If you want to copy, you can click fork and it creates a workspace on your account, and students have access to that. What about all the things that are specific features and, you know, more classroom-like features? Well, you can do that. As we saw with the live classroom, how an easy way to get students to get to the live classroom is after you create one, there is this learner join link. You post that on your learning management system for them to join a live classroom. How about in a course for a specific assignment? All right, you're in a course for a specific assignment. After you assign it, see the student preview? I actually right-click on it and say copy link, because the student preview, when you go to the student preview for a specific course section, every student, this is the URL they get when they're viewing the assignment. Is that right there? So just note that every section has their own unique URL. This assignment number is unique to this assigned assignment for that specific section. So you can copy this URL, post that in it as an assignment. Every student can click on it and get there. So that's how I post everything. Sasha would probably be disappointed to hear that students don't even navigate the Coding Rooms dashboard really with me. They just click on assignment links and they go and they make sure they're logged in and do that. They click on live classroom link, they go there. So actually, when I had my students towards the end of the year working on their own projects, I was like, yeah, go to Coding Rooms and just create a workspace. And they were like, what? Because they literally just click links for me to work on stuff. So once I showed them how to go to the website and just create a workspace, they were fine because they're familiar with the IDE. But they were like, I don't know how to navigate around Coding Rooms, because I just give them direct links on the LMS, which you can do with all the LMSs that you guys have. Students prefer direct links. They actually act like helpless fools when you don't like give them a direct link, when you actually give them like multi-step process to get to something. So direct links are just the best way to be most efficient with your class time. I know we're at time, but I'm okay staying just a little bit later if there are any other questions. If not, Pauline, you take it away.
Yeah, so a huge thank you to Joe and Sasha for joining us tonight and giving us this demo on Coding Rooms. Thank you to everyone who joined. I'm happy to stick around too if anyone else has additional questions, but I think I will end the recording and officially say thank you. If you would like to drop off, you are welcome to do that. If you have questions, I see Joe put his email in the chat. Also, we have csed@css.edu if you would like to contact the National Center for Computer Science Education. And we will be announcing very soon the rest of our upcoming webinars that will be happening for September and throughout the entire academic year. So please look for those emails from us. And again, thank you all for joining us, and we wish you a great start to the new school year.